Hello, my name is Pavel, welcome back to my channel. A couple of weeks ago, I was in the cinema and I was watching the trailers before the movie, and there was a movie that came up that seemed quite interesting to me. If you know anything about movies and when movies are released, usually at the beginning of the year, we're given movies that kind of fit into one of two boxes. The boxes are they're extremely garbage or they're surprisingly good. So the trailer was for the movie Night Swim, and I watched this trailer and I was like, this kind of looks half interesting. Maybe this will be a surprising start of the year horror movie. But then I wasn't so sure because, you know, whenever you watch a trailer and it's like produced by the company that gave you Get Out and whatever other movie, you're like, okay, so this movie doesn't have anything like backing it really aside from its producers. So I wasn't really sure. And in my head, for some reason, until right now, I thought this movie was directed by James Wan, which it was not. I was completely wrong. So I watched this trailer and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a video about this movie. I know nothing about this movie aside from the fact that the trailer looks good. Fast forward a few weeks, aka today, and I watched Night Swim, and I remembered nothing from the trailer aside from the basic concept that there's a pool in the backyard of a house of a family that have just bought this house, and this pool is haunted. To me, I was like, this seems like a quite an original and interesting concept, but how are you going to make a full 100-minute movie? I think it's like 98, 100-minute movie out of this concept, because that feels really difficult. Because whenever you have something that's haunted or possessed and it can't move, aka a swimming pool, how are you going to make this a sustainable and entertaining, maybe, a horror movie? And well, today I'm going to be talking about it. I took the gamble because, as I said, with these movies that come out at the start of the year, usually studios just fling out everything that they just don't have much confidence in, and it's kind of like playing the lottery. It's just an absolute gamble, and I took that gamble. And did it pay off? Well, we'll see. Let's talk about Night Swim, because it's the first horror movie that I've watched in 2024, and it's the first horror movie that I watched in weeks because I've just kind of not been watching them. I watched Lake Mungo at the very start of January, and it genuinely terrified me so much that I was like, you know what, I kind of need to take a break from these movies because it terrified me that much. Also, hopefully you can hear it, but I have a new microphone. I have one of those like YouTuber mics. I don't know if you can see the microphones that like everybody has. So I hope it's actually making my voice sound a little bit better, and that it's going to make my videos a little bit better. Who knows? But let's talk about Night Swim. What is Night Swim about? Well, the movie starts off, we have a kid. I think it's set in the like 1992. We have a family and a kid is going outside because it sees a boat floating in their pool, and the boat, it belongs to her brother, and her brother's very sick. So she's like, hey, I found your boat in the pool. I'm going to go get it. So she goes out, she falls into the pool mysteriously, and she dies. The movie fast forwards to a present day, I believe. It doesn't actually specify what year, I think, unless I completely missed it. And it's basically that a family have just moved in here. They're looking at somewhere to live because the dad is an ex baseball player, but he injured himself, and they're like thinking of renting this really fancy house for like over $4,000 a month. And then they see this house and they're like, I've always wanted a pool, and how easy of a choice is it to pick between renting and buying? I wish my life was that easy. You could just be like, hey, I want to buy this instead of renting because, yeah, I just can. Honestly, goals. So they move in here and the house looks a little bit garbage, and they see this pool and they get really fascinated by it. The rest of the movie is that this family starts taking swims in the pool. Every time they go underwater, they see bodies above the surface, which was a really cool detail. And every time they go into the pool, something haunted happens because this pool is possessed. That is the concept of this movie. Creepy things happen when they're inside the pool. It's an evil entity. Was it somebody that has died there before? Is it like a ghost? Who knows? We learn this as we watch the movie, and I'm not going to spoil it, so this is going to be like a spoiler-free talk because we do kind of get an answer towards the end of the movie. And as a concept, as I said, I really like that idea. A pool being haunted, quite original. I've never really watched something like it. And as I was watching this movie, I was like, this kind of seems like it would be a very interesting short movie concept. And I Googled it, and it was a short film directed by the same person like 10 years ago. And I was like, oh, I can see why you made this into a feature length. And let's just start off by saying that this feature length is not good. This movie is a drag. Let's just go through all the notes I have on my phone here. But this movie starts off very strong. We have a good child performance, very engaging. I was like, oh, cool. Okay, so we're going to get like maybe a missing story, maybe like a psychological thriller. But bear in mind that the trailer for this movie made us think that this movie is a horror movie. we need to keep this in mind, okay? It's very, very important. And the first thought I had whenever we see like a child getting like pushed into a pool by some ghost, she's hearing voices, she's like seeing things, just things are like creeping her out. I'm like, maybe this director kind of has like a fear of water, so maybe that's something we're going to be exploring. But no, and I feel like it's not that what this movie explores at all. This movie doesn't really explore anything at all, and I'm going to get straight into the things that I do not like about this movie, because let's not waste any time. This movie starts off and we see this family, you know, they're struggling, they move around so much, life is so hard for an ex-baseball player that is so rich, poor me, woe is me, whatever. Life is hard for them and they just want to settle, and the movie keeps just basking on the fact that he was an ex-baseball player and they want to settle, and their son is like struggling at school, and the daughter has a boyfriend and all this. And I'm like, okay, we get a little bit of character development. But in this 100-minute movie, right? Genuinely 80 minutes of this movie is just them being like, oh, let's have a party in the pool. Oh, I love swimming. This swimming is making me heal really quickly, because that's one of the things the baseball dude heals really quickly in the pool. And every time they go in the pool, something kind of weird happens. And then, like, bear in mind, so about like 10 minutes of this entire horror movie is them actually in the pool and the pool interacting with them, and the rest of the story is just kind of like, oh, I don't know, I'm sick and I'm sad and I really want to play baseball and I miss my previous life and all this, which is fine in a movie, right? I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but in this movie, when it focuses so much on that, you kind of forget that it's a horror movie. And whenever you watch a trailer and the poster and everything, it's meant to be a horror movie, but this movie just focuses on just dialogue and boring conversation that has nothing to do with the horrors of the pool, that you're like, oh my gosh, are we literally just going to be watching middle-aged people just having very boring, just basic conversations for this entire movie, and it just makes this entire movie extremely boring? Yes. And then in the midst of that, they're like, oh crap, this is meant to be a horror movie. Let's throw in a little quick scene where a boy jumps into the pool and he gets scared, and then the mother doesn't really believe it. Then she jumps in and something weird happens to her, and then she tells the husband, and then the husband doesn't really believe it, so he tells the whole family. Then the daughter goes in and something weird happens, and it's just a cycle of this like weird formula. And I'm gonna get back to why it works more, like a lot better as a short movie than a feature length. But if you can't tell, it's just chat, and that has nothing to do with the horror. And like, it's just frustrating, because like, to me, as I said, this is like a really cool concept and they just don't take advantage of it. And I have this idea, like, but who am I to say, why not make this into like a psychological thriller where the dad is like terrified of water because he has like some childhood trauma or something that happened to him in the past. Maybe something, he would have been a swimmer, but now he's like terrified of water because of something happened. But no, we just have this baseball player who uses water as a water therapy, and nothing else really happens. Like, I feel like you could have really focused on like being really claustrophobic, but you also could have focused on somebody overcoming this fear, like the movie Take Shelter, which is really, really interesting, kind of like similar-ish concept. And so, as I was saying, why would this work better as a short movie? Well, in a short movie, you have a few minutes of your time. This short movie, based on this movie, is 4 minutes long. Similar to a short story, every shot, every word, everything is intentional. It has to be to the point, as to get the concept across super quick, and it just has to be really engaging. Everything has to be intentional, and as a concept in this, it works super well, because this movie is entirely dialogue. It's not really about the pool, because it's so difficult to make a movie about a pool that's scary. Even me telling you that sounds weird, like a pool that's haunted. It's like it's stationed in one place. You can't move it around, so the people have to go to it. And if people are terrified of the thing, why would they go to it? So as a short movie, this works really well, because we see someone swimming, she goes underwater, she sees somebody above water, and she goes back up and there's nobody there. It's creepy. It's a scary concept, because some people could have that sort of fear after watching this. Then she goes back down, then she goes back up, and she sees like this weird figure walking towards her. Creepy. I really like it. But whenever you have this as a full feature movie, and it's just kind of like, you have that already from the short movie, and you're just trying to develop this world that nobody really cares about, and all these characters that nobody really cares about. Like, whenever you watch a movie like this, you just want it to be fun, scary, just enjoy, like you just want to have fun. But you don't get that from this movie at all. Like there's one scene where the daughter is in the pool and she closes her eyes, and they're playing Marco Polo with her boyfriend, and she's like, Marco, and the boyfriend gets out of the pool, and then the demon is like, Polo, And I was like, this has so much potential because it was in the trailer. And then whenever it's executed, it's so boring. Like, it's like these weird, it's not even a jump scare. It's just this weird face that goes up to her and says, Polo. And I'm not joking. I had my curtains down, everything closed, like super, super dark watching this. And nothing in this entire movie scared me at all. And that's a sign that this movie just does not work. Like, as a concept, it's very difficult to turn into a big movie. Like, and this is the directorial debut, like, for a full feature-length movie of this director. So it's obviously such a difficult task for this movie, and obviously it doesn't pay off. It's just irritating. And so that maybe brings me to the point that recently, in the last few years, we've had this kind of like trend where we've just been getting very misleading trailers, or trailers that just either give us way too much information or make us go on to see the movie, which I know is the point. But then whenever you see the movie, it has nothing to do with the trailer, because this trailer painted this movie as scary, as this pool being terrifying, didn't really set us up for this massive family dynamic drama piece that this movie was. And that has been happening recently. I feel like every time I go to the cinema, I see a trailer and then I actually watch the movie, I'm like, you can't really compare it, and it's extremely frustrating. But I know I've been talking about it, I know I've been talking a lot of hate about this movie, but there are a few things that I actually really liked about this movie, such as the son is out and about in the pool during the day, which is like a really key point of this, and he loses his like doll or figure, whatever, I don't know, and then he sees it in like the little vent within the pool and it's covered in hair. And the thing that I really liked about it was it's set during the day. I feel like we get such little horror and like scary scenes throughout horror movies that are set during the day, and it's always admirable when they work. Did it work in this movie? No, but I still really admire it. And remember I mentioned the little boat earlier on in the movie. Well, that comes back later on to this family, and it kind of hints towards like a family living there before, and it gives a hint towards a family. Do the family take that hint? No, but it also hints that maybe there's more families that have went through this, and it's kind of like this big cyclical thing where somebody gets killed by the pool, a family moves away, and a new family moves on. And that's a little hint as to what the answer is. Maybe I'll tell you. No, okay, I won't tell you. But it's an interesting concept that just doesn't really get explored. There's a scene where the mother goes to visit an owner that lived there before, and they have this conversation, and it's like, oh, it's so lame. It's so lame. And it's just like this entire movie just frustrates me. I don't like it because like there's so many movies out there and so many people that are trying to get their movie made, and then they just release shit like this. It's frustrating. Like Chris Stuckman's movie, right? He's been struggling to get that made for such a long time. It's definitely going to be so original, so creative. And then you just have shit like this that just gets put out. It feels like very like easily, and it just flops. And it's very frustrating because it feels like a lot of original content isn't really being pushed out, and a lot of really great movies aren't. But I guess that is just the start of the year, and that's what we always get with movies. So how do I know if this was a good or bad horror movie? Well, by the end of this movie, I was sitting there like, hey, I would actually like a pool. Wouldn't that be nice? And that's a sign that a movie about an evil pool that kills people and has evil entities in it is a bad horror movie, because I sat there thinking I would like a pool, and if that's not put me off swimming, then I feel like it's done a really bad job. Overall, it's just very annoying whenever you have this cool-ish concept that just does not get explored, and it's just very irritating when it's just like the horror is this much and the rest of the movie is just people chatting shit that has nothing to do with the horror. It's disappointing as a film goer, as a film viewer, whatever you would like to call it. It's annoying because I just wanted more, and that just feels very common with movies like this. You just want more and you don't get more. But I think that's everything I have to say about Night Swim. Just go watch the short movie. The short movie works. The long 100-minute movie, it just feels really long. It does not work, and just some things are better left as short movies, and this is a prime example of that. So I think that's everything I have to say. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.